Hi, Charlie Russo, last name's Russo, Conservation Commission. And I just, in reviewing the ENF and in the filing before this siting board, I've noted a number of inconsistencies, omissions, and sort of underestimates of the environmental impact that I think combined provide insufficient information for you guys to decide on the filing as it exists now per MGL 164. In fact, I think the underlying methodology of much of the environmental impacts is flawed. Specifically, I'll call out page 4-25 of the application. The conservation land has been given a weighting in the evaluation matrix of 3, which is a mistake. Sudbury is fortunate to have a lot of federal, state, and local conservation land, and the MBTA right-of-way actually is a link that threads them all together. And to give a weighting of 3 when so much has already been invested by the federal, state, and local governments in preserving these spaces, really undervalues what has been invested in that property. Developing the right-of-way would, really break this linkage between these various conservation properties. Maybe in another community where the conservation property was smaller, a 3 might be appropriate, but here it's not. I would also note that traffic mitigation is given a weighting of 5, and what this does is it serves to skew the rankings of the environmental impacts. What this current weighting does, it prioritizes the avoidance of temporary traffic problems over the permanent alteration of existing conservation lands at the federal, state, and local level. That's a mistake. I think that methodology needs to be reevaluated, from the start. The ENF, there's a number of issues I have with that. In the first 29 pages, to be determined is the answer to standard questions 6 times. Some of that has to do with some of the endangered species is a bit out of their control, but if an applicant came before the local conservation commission and had to be determined as the response to a standard question every 5 pages, we'd make them start over. So I'd also note that lots of people think, Conservation Commission, we're about, chipmunks and flowers and whatnot, but actually the truth is the 8 state interests of wetlands, actually they all boil down to human health. Just an example is, one of the 8 interests is flood control, which I think is relevant to plans for a 9-mile underground high voltage electrical wire. The other one's drinking water supply, aquifer recharge. All these things do affect ultimately human health. So an effect on the wetlands is ultimately an effect on human health. And the effect won't be localized. It's going to spread beyond the local area. Next, I'll just say I'm the CONCOM's representative on the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Design Task Force. And I can say that rail trails, when properly designed, can be a nice sustainability benefit to a community. But despite the DCR's letter of support, to think that the MCRT should be cited as justification or mitigation for this project, I think is a mistake. The DCR, as its Greenways project, generally relies on local participation and enthusiasm, to proceed with its projects. And I think to assume that at this point is premature. The Mass Central Rail Trail should stand on its own merits. And I think tying it to this project or using that as a justification for this energy project is a misnomer. And then, last thing I'll say is that, Sudbury's a little different from some other communities where we don't have sewer and we rely on well water. In this project, in and of itself, it's probably not going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back and causes big problems, but we have an on-road alternative. Why add this straw? There's an option that could avoid all these impacts. If you look at the filing, the cold water fisheries impacts goes from significant to none in the on-road alternative. The tree clearing goes from significant to none. The conservation land impacts goes from significant to none. So I would urge you to choose the on-road option as the preferred alternative. Thank you.